Nah, I'm pretty much an open book these days.
That's good. What a good woman will do for you, right,
Yeah.
Niso?
I'm over here. I did that.
She's like, all me right there.
Give me
Oh,
the sick
Lord.
inside.
But it should be good, man.
Well, I even asked him, I was like, do you want me to not be there just in case there's things maybe you're not comfortable maybe talking about in front of me? But
Sean's always been an open book.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been pretty open. You know, I put myself in embarrassing situations way before anyone else.
Pantyhose?
Patty luscious lips. I've done a lot of.
Luscious
you remember?
lips.
You
I
remember
forgot about
that?
that. Luscious lips.
Oh
That's
man.
true. Rashawn was a classic.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm living my own life.
Yep.
Okay? I'm beating my own drum.
Okay, so we're rolling here.
We're rolling?
Yeah.
Look at Rashawn! That is clear.
Okay, we're rolling here. Alright, go ahead.
Okay. Hello, Rashani Poo.
Hey, Key.
This is Rashawn, everyone. This is my baby cousin. But I really think of you as someone that has done a lot of growing. I'm super proud of you. Very proud of you. And I know Granny would be too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So today we're going to speak about, how old are you, Rashawn? 30, right?
32, unfortunately.
32?
Yeah, 32 years young, I try to say. I try.
You're 30. How old am I? Yeah, we're only 5 years apart. That's true. You're 32. Okay, so my first question for you, we're going to be touching on manhood and just growing into your manhood. So my first question for you is when you think of, because I had this question for Spence too. When you think of men in today's society, what comes to your thoughts?
Um, I think fatherhood. I think growing up there was always this perception of we grew up in single mother homes. Our fathers weren't around, but I feel in today's society I feel like it's all about fatherhood.
Yeah.
All my closest friends are becoming fathers who want to raise their children. Um,
They want to be better than what
they want to be better than what they came from. Even on TV, they perceive black men of being there for their children more now than they ever have. So I feel like fatherhood has been something that's really been in men's society this time around. You see fathers wanting to fight for their children, fathers being single parents.
Yeah.
That's been on a rise as well in today's society.
That's true.
So I feel like fatherhood is something you can really take away from today's society in regards to men.
Okay, so you think that's a growth for men in that area?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's a growth. I'm not saying it's. I don't have any stats. I'm saying just from my personal perception, that's what I feel like I see more in today's society.
In our day, how did you feel about it?
Um, I felt like it was a one-off, especially for people of color. It was a one-off, like to have the father around, like thankfully we had Mr. Hall growing up, my cousin Anthony's father who was around. But for the most part, I felt like that perception of mothers raising black children by themselves was prevalent a lot growing
Yeah,
up
for sure.
as compared to today. Whereas growing up, it was just kind of like it was always there. It was a running joke for people who weren't of color. That like your father isn't around. It was always on TV, to the point that that's how everyone viewed it. They didn't even think that it was like a possibility. It was just automatically, yeah, automatically you're raised by your mom and your mom only. When people ask her like, "Is your father around?" Like that's an automatic question for someone of color compared to like, oh, someone who's not of color, a white person. You're never gonna ask, "Is your father around?" It's not. It's not something. It's not a common question to ask them.
So when it comes to fatherhood, you said that basically fatherhood in men's society today, that fatherhood is really pushed a lot, and it's really we're getting the eye on fathering and stuff like that. But is there anything else that comes to your thoughts when you think of overall capacity, the mental wellness, the pressures, the expectations of men? What comes to your mind in that area? Relationships.
Um,
Take your time.
I would say there's a heavy influence from media.
Oh my God, yeah.
So when I think about today's society and mental health, like I feel like there's a heavy presence on our youth from media,
Yeah.
telling them how they should feel or what emotions they might be feeling, especially in the music industry. It's prevalent that each genre pushes its own sort of agenda. I would say and pop and top 10 push more of a you know your sexual feelings and how you feel sexually, whereas rap pushes this violence, this
Yeah.
where like it's you're only cool or you're only black if you do these certain things, and I feel like that has had a major impact on our youth. A lot of youth don't know what they want or who they are more or less than we were. No one knows what they want to be growing up, but I just feel like today's youth are much more influenced and confused by the media that they're shown.
And how do you feel that some of the boys are affected by this?
Uh,
Because these are
it's
the next generation of men coming behind us.
it's beyond it's really worrying for the boys, because it's especially when I comes to like this wanting to be a gangster per se. It's very worrying for them. Kids, youth today have far less respect for authority than they did in the past, and far less respect for, someone wanting to pass down knowledge about not wanting to go down that path. I'm thankful I had many people who were in that line of life who were just like, no, like, why would you want to do that? You're good at football, you're
So do
smart.
you think that we're missing mentors in our community? Especially for young men?
No, I don't think we're missing mentors. I think it's just harder to get through to kids today because they rather listen to what rappers are saying, right? Instead of people who are in their real
The
lives.
media is their influence.
The media is their
mentors.
influence, whereas instead of genuine people who are around them who've been through that, right? And it's hard to let them know that those rappers are one in a million, and a lot of them went to school and have degrees.
Yeah.
So
But they don't see that side.
they don't see that
the
side. They only
with the
see
glamour
the
and the chain
exactly.
and the sexiness, especially for young girls. Sexual over sexualized in the media. So when you think of your own experience and how did you grow to have that understanding that you have now? Like what shaped you into the man that you are today?
Uh, Thankfully, I was raised off of old school music, so I didn't really get to dabble into this new school stuff until I was well in my formative years,
Yeah.
and I had strong male role models, and I was practically raised by females, right? So I was shown a different light from the beginning, that like it's not that glamour that first of all, if that's what you're looking for as a female's attraction, it's not that glamour that most of them are looking for. It's intelligence. It's I'm not saying be able to provide, but be able to, at least give that like intention of being able to provide if that's what they wanted, right?
Yeah. Having a strong female presence in your life, how has that helped you in your relationships as you got older? Because you're not the one to like date like a serial dater. Like, you did have relationships that were, I think they were quite long.
Yeah, typically they're quite long. I think just having that, being able to go back to that female's perspective, I like, there were sometimes I thought I was so right, like set it in stone. I'm right, and I'd go back to either you or my sister Tifa, or my mom, and explain the situation, and it'd be like, you are so wrong, like, and you're my brother, or like you're my son, like I've raised you better, so like being able to have that female be like you're wrong, and that female who's objective, right? You guys love me through and through.
100%.
That you're wrong, it allows you to grow. Not only do I go back and apologize for that situation, but when that arrives again, I know that like, hey, like if you were wrong last time and it's the same situation this time, you are wrong again, right? So like you need to take a step back, look at the situation objectively, and be able to communicate like better.
Yeah, and maybe it's showing you something about yourself that you need to work on.
Oh, definitely. My to this day, strong females are still influencing my growth. My wife, she's definitely influencing my communication.
How is that marriage? You got married last year.
Hmm.
Last year, that was a turn-up wedding. And you know what it was so great about? You really kind of, I know it was your marriage, but you brought the family together. You know, the ones that you speak to and you're connected to, and that was a nice vibe. But marriage, and we could be open, marriage on our family, well, your parents were actually married. My parents weren't. But there isn't that many marriages on both sides. Because we're related on mother and father side because the two sisters dated the two cousins. So we have family on the same sides, but marriages is not something that is common in our family. Like grandma and grandpa were married, your mom and your dad were married. But aside from that, I don't remember seeing a lot of married people. So what did that feel like to you, and what did that mean like to you for you to just take a different route, other than what we're used to?
It meant everything to me. It meant the world. Not only because I found, the person I wanted to be with the rest of my life, but it's just growing up. We went to way more funerals than weddings.
100%.
And so, like, I always said that, I want to do things the right way. I want to get married, then get the house and have the kids. So being able to take that step and enjoy that moment with my family who's been through so much, to have that like moment of celebration for us was just one of the best nights of my life. Not only did I get to marry my best friend, but I got to celebrate that with all the people I was closest to. And
Yeah.
I think that will be impactful for our youth, right? For my nephew Lakai, like I think that's going to be impactful for him to see, that kind of engagement, that large festivity. It was a big wedding, and it was a combination of cultures, it was combining them both that night, and it was really good. So I'm hoping that not only was it magical for me, that it was magical for the youth that wasn't present, who will see that more of a norm than I did.
Yeah. And I think you're breaking a generational curse because out of the grandkids, like Latoya and Callie were the first to get married. Now you and Iso. Hopefully I'm next. But I think it's very important for people, like you said, we've seen more funerals than we've seen marriages, and that's a true statement. We've been to way more funerals than marriages. But I think breaking that generational curse is what's going to allow the next generation to do better. So my other question to you is that how did you know she was the one after dating all these other women? Not all. He had a few girlfriends.
So the night we met was, I'm gonna skip all the juicy parts, but the night we met, after I got her number, I was extremely concerned that she wasn't gonna answer me. She was gonna curve me. That was a term we were using back then, 5 years ago, curve. I'm not that young anymore. And I think that was like the first time I ever felt that way. Typically, it was like I got the number and that sealed the deal, but I really wanted to make sure she was going to answer me and I was going to have the opportunity to get to know her. And I don't know, I just, it was kind of like those cheesy rom-coms, like I said in my, in my vows. Like it really felt like one of those moments, and so it was just kind of like everything clicked that night for me. And I went home and I told my mom, and I was like, I'm gonna marry this girl. And mom kind of chuckled it off, 'cause, I'm a hopeless romantic.
Yes, you are.
So mom kind of chuckled it off, but I stayed true. I knew I was gonna marry her from that night, and it's just I feel like sometimes you just know, the universe is gonna, Allah, God is gonna always provide for you. He's gonna always show you the way. So.
Now my other question, this is another question because you said you had mentors in your life, but you have a dad too.
Yeah.
And you stop me if I'm going too far. Okay. So sometimes your dad was there at a period of time, for a long period of time. Your parents were married, and then after he was away. Do you feel that impacted you in any other way, and do you hold anything against your dad for not being there at times?
I used to, not anymore. I definitely used to, because I felt like it was just because he was there. It's like it wasn't like he wasn't there. It's just that that time he wasn't there was just my formative years, you know. So it feels much bigger than it actually was,
Yeah.
right? So I used to feel like a way, like, you know, what were you doing? You know, how come you weren't there? You know, but as I got older, you know, it's like you can't. My father was going through his own things, and he loves me through and through. And I know he, if he could have been here during those years, he would have been here during those years. You know, so it took me a while to realize that, but you know, I like it definitely molded me differently because I needed to find my own way as a man for most of those years, right? Thankfully, I did have, you know, certain role models and teachers and football coaches along the way
Yeah.
to help me, but typically I had to find my own way, you know. My older brother, bless his soul, he was going through his own things, trying to deal with the same thing I was, you know. So it wasn't easy trying to look to him while he was still growing up himself, right? So
So you had to figure it
I
out.
had to figure it out, and I think that's definitely helped me now a lot because now I feel like I'm automatically like a fatherly figure to people I care about, especially like the kids in my family. You know, my nephews. Like I'm automatically gonna want to be that like fatherly figure. They have their father, you know, but if they
They know
ever
they have
need,
their uncle.
they know they have me, right? And I'm gonna be there forever. So I can only imagine when I'm ready to have children of my own
Yeah.
that it set a sort of precedent of, you know, the kind of man I want to be, you know, and how present I want to be in their life, you know.
And I think that's insightful because, like, I know your dad and you had conversations, you know. So how important is that man-to-man conversation with between a son and his father?
Um, they're everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when we had those conversations, I was well into being a man. I was about, you know, 27 when we started having those talks. So it was everything, especially to see it from his side of view. You know what
Yeah.
he was going through. You know, and like how he felt not being there for me. Right. There's always two sides to a story. So having being able to like have those open conversations with my father and not be scared to ask him those tough questions, you know, and receive tough answers. I felt like not only gave me so much, it gave me so much comfort, you know, and understanding that, you know, like he wanted to be there, you know, and that I wasn't alone in what I was feeling about missing him and, you know, wanted to do those son and father things. So having those talks with him definitely, you know, set me out the right track about, you know, letting
Yeah.
things go, you know, want to be a better man, making sure that the decisions I make don't get me in situations where I won't be able to be there for
Yeah.
the people I want to be there for, you know.
And
Um,
not taking the line kind of like how they took the line. Like, not to reveal anybody else's business, but they came from a different generation than us, you know?
yeah,
Like, they were immigrants, they didn't have a lot of money when they came here. So they did what they needed to do, but sometimes what you do puts you in a situation that compromises your freedom and your livelihood with your kids.
yeah,
And it's not that they want to do that, it's that we just don't, we're learning, you know? We have to do better than our parents. And I think you've done an extreme job at taking your own path and going your own way. Because coming from where we came from, like, we could have been worse.
yeah. We definitely could have been worse.
We could have been worse. But yeah, I think I'm going to end it on that note. It's small, short, and sweet, but I could continue this conversation again. But we only have a certain amount of time. So, yeah, like, I really enjoyed that, Rashawn. So I hope everybody could get something from here.